Don't let the man across from you fool you. Doubt is your real enemy. No, it won't be the GOAT and the gunslinger. The NFC title game will instead feature a pair of quarterbacks called into question at every turn of their careers. They said your stats were hollow, even drafted the guy to take your job. Doubt be damned. You're here for a reason.
1, 2, 3.
The Niners and the Rams will offer up a third installment on Sunday for the right to represent the conference in Super Bowl 56. For San Francisco, a road warrior mentality that began in this very building 3 weeks ago. LA to Dallas. Dallas to the Tundra. A bruising brand of football that poses its opponents with a simple question. How bad do you want it?
Our team's been through so many different situations this year that I feel like we never overreact to anything. Our guys just never waver.
For LA, the chance to address the question, one they haven't had an answer to since 2018. In the battle of boy geniuses, it's advantage Shanahan.
We got to get ready for a team that we know has been a really tough matchup for us. They've done an outstanding job, and it's going to be a great game.
But what is past is not prologue. This another opportunity to take back your building, one overrun by scarlet and gold time and again.
It was a tough environment for us to communicate in, really, the whole second half.
Now is the time to block out the noise and make a bit of your own.
Niners.
Appropriate that careers will be defined in the place where anybody can be somebody. The same place a champion will be crowned just 2 weeks later. This Sunday, a chance to pry the pen out of the hand of your critics and write your own legacy. So check your doubt at the door. It's winning time in the NFC title game.
Thank you very much, Joe Musso. Let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, and there is some thought that he's simply a really good game manager. You heard Joe allude to it there, the criticism he's received, that he's not been the difference maker he needs to be in the playoffs. Certainly the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs is what everyone points to. It's a team game, so in the words of Bill Belichick, just focus on doing your job. Say what you want about Jimmy G, but 4 wins and 5 playoff appearances speaks for itself as he looks to secure a Super Bowl for the 49ers. Let's have a conversation about that with senior NFL insider Jonathan Jones. JJ, I've started watching the Joe Montana documentary this week, and it struck me the similarities between his college career and Jimmy G's 49er career. In both instances, despite winning games, there was just no respect that was given. And much like Joe winning the Natty for the Irish, would a Super Bowl for Garoppolo change things for him?
No. No, they wouldn't. All indications that I'm getting out of Silicon Valley are that Jimmy Garoppolo is out of there after this season, really no matter what. And it's no commentary on Jimmy Garoppolo, the human being. It's no commentary really on Jimmy Garoppolo, the quarterback. Of course, you win a Super Bowl, and normally you're still with the team. The only time that that's ever not happened outside of all the retirements, right? Peyton Manning in Super Bowl 50 retiring, obviously wasn't with the team after that, was Trent Dilfer when the Ravens won more than 2 decades ago, and then they didn't re-sign him. But to actively trade a guy that you have under contract who could win you the Super Bowl, it's never been heard of. But that's the decision that the San Francisco 49ers made. That's the calculation that they made when they traded up to secure the number 3 overall pick and ultimately pick Trey Lance last draft. And so really, Jimmy Garoppolo can't do anything. He can only go out there and win a Super Bowl, but he won't be with the San Francisco 49ers next year. Where will he be? Well, he has, again, 1 year left under contract, a cap hit of around $26 million. What teams would be interested in him? Well, teams that obviously are interested in Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, perhaps a Deshaun Watson, and they miss out on those 3 if any or all of them ultimately become available. They should be looking Jimmy Garoppolo's way. With the Cleveland Browns, no, not necessarily. Don't think you need to give up assets in order to get a slightly better Baker Mayfield, for example. But if he wins a Super Bowl, I think that you're going to have to give up a late first and early second round pick in order to secure his rights. And then once you trade for him, of course, you're probably going to give him a new contract.
Yeah, and you speak about the Trent Dilfer situation. Ironically, today, the 21st anniversary of that Super Bowl win. Brandon Baylor is going to talk to Ray Lewis about that coming up. We are sponsored by Microsoft Surface, this edition of CBS Sports HQ. And as such, JJ, we need a bold prediction from you as we head into championship weekend. What do you got for us?
Well, I'll give you one. And the bold prediction here is that this game between the Rams and Jimmy Garoppolo's 49ers, it's going to end in 3 points. That will be the margin of victory in this game. When you look back, when these two teams have met in the second time that they've met, each of the past 3 years, it's been decided by a game-winning field goal as time expires. These teams know each other very well. This is the parity in the NFL. They are built to go toe-to-toe, and whoever has the ball last ultimately wins. This is going to be a game that will be decided by 3 points. I just happen to think it's going to go the way of the home team. I think it's going to go the way of the Rams.
And the line certainly reflects your bold prediction. All right, JJ, you saw off the top of the program that the Las Vegas Raiders are interviewing Josh McDaniel. This situation, it's just icky to me, JJ. I mean, they have someone, but they're openly seeing other people. I mean, maybe it's the perfect example of the modern day relationship. I don't know. Where are the Raiders at in terms of this coaching search?
Yeah, they have been taking their time, of course. They fired general manager Mike Mayock more than a week ago. They have been interviewing a number of folks with Patriots ties, and that includes Dave Ziegler, who joined the Patriots staff a couple of years ago and then really sort of ran the draft, helped Bill Belichick with free agency this past year. So his name has been shooting up the ranks, and he interviewed well there in Vegas. I would not at all be surprised if you have a GM in Dave Ziegler, if you have a head coach in Josh McDaniels, you have an assistant general manager in Champ Kelly, who's formerly or currently at least of the Chicago Bears. Not really sure how that works out now that they have a new general manager. But as it relates to Josh McDaniels, we saw there his time in Denver didn't end all that well. And then he gets a second opportunity with the Indianapolis Colts and says, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And so he was nuclear. No one was going to touch him for several years. And the Raiders obviously think that he is touchable. And by way of Josh McDaniels agreeing to this interview, it seems very clear that he is interested, that he would leave New England as one of the top paid assistant coaches and coordinators in the NFL in a pretty good situation there in New England with a winning franchise, with a good young quarterback. I think it speaks to what he believes he and a general manager, again, Dave Ziegler, what they can create there in Vegas. I think it speaks highly of Derek Carr and their belief in that quarterback, because you don't go somewhere, you don't leave somewhere with a quarterback to go somewhere that doesn't have a quarterback. So I would very much keep a close eye on this. This was something that cropped up that I reported about 7-8 days ago, and then they just put in the request just yesterday. You got to feel good about the way this is heading if you're Josh McDaniels.
JJ, we had a slew of head coaching news yesterday. You were, of course, a part of that all day long, hires and interviews. How close are we to getting an announcement from the New York Giants?
Oh, we're close. We are close. Right now they're meeting with Leslie Frazier there in New York, and that will wrap up the second round of interviews. And it included Dan Quinn, who removed himself from consideration. It includes Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, who reportedly already has an interview set up with the Minnesota Vikings. But really, this comes down to the two Bryans. It's Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, and very close friend of Joe Shane, the new general manager. Not just that they're friends, of course, they're work colleagues. They've known each other for some time. That familiarity is certainly important. And former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores, whom I'm told impressed folks in the interviews yesterday with his answers to very hard questions about what happened at the end of his tenure there with the Miami Dolphins. Why are his interpersonal relationship skills so poorly thought of? And so if you're handicapping this, it's Daboll or Flores. In my opinion, I do believe that a decision could be reached as early as Friday night. They hammer out the details. They announce it on Saturday. I don't think that this is going to bleed much into the Sunday conference championship games unless, it's just too close to call, unless there are contract issues and what have you. But I do believe it is between the two Bryans as it stands right now. If I have to pick one right now, I wouldn't want to have to pick one. Daboll has been the favorite, but I do think that the Giants wanted to be impressed by Brian Flores going into that interview. I think that he handled himself well in that interview. He could have made this a very, very tight race. We will see here in the next several hours.
The Jacksonville Jaguars were said to be close to hiring Nathaniel Hackett and still had him on their list as he was being announced by the Broncos, as such is the state of the Jags at this point. Then there was a rumor Vic Fangio was even being considered for the head coaching position, which would probably not be the best thing for quarterback Trevor Lawrence. JJ, the Jags have done a ton of interviews, but they can't find their guy. Why?
Well, it's time to restart the interview process, it certainly seems. Listen, General Manager Trent Baalke, that we have been saying on here for weeks now was going to make this search difficult, appears to be making this search difficult. You know, he was interested in Bill O'Brien, and that didn't work out. Dan Quinn, they put a request in for him. He didn't even want to take that interview there in Jacksonville. Interested in Nathaniel Hackett, the former offensive coordinator there, who helped Blake Bortles and that team to the 2017 AFC title game. He goes elsewhere to Denver. Matt Eberflus was also a finalist there. He goes, of course, to Chicago. And so now you're left, if it's a game of musical chairs, music stop, there's one chair, there's one person, and it's Byron Leftwich. But Byron, who was close, all my sources indicate, to ultimately landing that job, there's an issue of power and control there in Jacksonville between him and Trent Baalke. And that happened and cropped up a couple of days ago. There are reports out there that Byron Leftwich is interested in bringing along with him Adrian Wilson, a Cardinals executive, to be his general manager. Well, you can't just fire somebody and bring in a guy. Now, that you can't just circumvent the NFL rules like that. So that's not necessarily going to happen. At this point, I find it difficult to believe that Byron Leftwich will ultimately be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trent Baalke simultaneously and concurrently being the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so short of that scenario and short of Trent Baalke being fired, which I don't anticipate that happening, Shad Khan is committed to Trent Baalke, much to the chagrin and puzzlement, if you will, of people that I speak to around the league. The Jags are going to have to restart this coaching search, which is terrible for them as being one of the first ones who were out there and available. Of course, the Raiders were first, and then they fired Urban Meyer. The Jags did with 4 weeks left in the season. They are, I don't think, any closer to having a head coach than they were on Tuesday night, than they were the week before. This could take another several days there in Jacksonville.
And, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on it. He is CBS Sports HQ senior NFL insider Jonathan Jones. You can read JJ's latest notebook on the NFL over on CBSSports.com. Thanks, JJ. Here are the NFL's head coaching jobs that remain open. 6 of them, well, 6.5 if you include the Raiders job. They have an interim, but not a full-time head coach in Richie Bisaccia. And as JJ said, I mean, we could have at least one team, maybe more, off this list sooner rather than later.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.